Imagine you're on the grandest ship ever built, the unsinkable Titanic. For two young lovers, let's call them Eleanor and Thomas, this voyage across the Atlantic was meant to be the start of their new life together. They had met, by chance. A whirlwind romance sparked under the crystal chandeliers of the first-class dining room. Their days were filled with stolen glances, secret meetings on the promenade deck, and dreams of a future in America, far from the rigid society they were leaving behind. They believed nothing could ever come between them. But destiny, as we know, had other plans. On the night of April 14th, 1912, a sudden, violent shudder ripped through the ship. The initial confusion quickly turned to a low hum of anxiety. Officers in crisp uniforms tried to maintain calm, but the growing list of the ship, the cold night air biting at exposed skin, and the distant, haunting sounds of ice scraping against steel told a different story. Panic was a spark, and it was about to ignite. Eleanor and Thomas, separated for just a moment he had gone to retrieve a warmer coat for her, found themselves caught in the initial wave of chaos. What was once a majestic floating palace transformed into a labyrinth of fear. The grand staircase, a symbol of opulence, was now a bottleneck of terrified passengers. Stewards, following fragmented orders, began locking the gates that separated the different classes, turning familiar corridors into dead ends. Thomas, caught on the other side of a newly barred gate, could only see Eleanor through the iron scrollwork. Her face, pale in the dim emergency lighting, was a mask of confusion and burgeoning fear. He called her name, his voice swallowed by the rising cacophony of shouts and cries. She reached a hand through the bars, her fingers just brushing his before the crowd surged, pushing her away from him, deeper into the throng. The separation wasn't just physical, it was a tearing of the soul. Each was now alone in the crowd, their shared dream of a future dissolving with every passing second. The emotional distance grew with every foot the crowd pushed them apart. Thomas fought against the tide of people, his mind racing. He had to get back to her. He had promised to protect her. Eleanor, swept along by the desperate mass, felt a cold dread creep into her heart, a fear far greater than that of the icy water below. It was the fear of losing him, of facing this nightmare alone. Their connection, so strong just minutes before, was now a fragile thread stretched to its breaking point by the pandemonium. This chaos wasn't just random panic. It was amplified by the historical confusion of the evacuation itself. The women and children. First protocol was not consistently enforced across the ship. On one side of the Titanic, officers interpreted the order as women and children only, launching lifeboats that were tragically half empty. On the other side, men were allowed to board if there was space. This inconsistency created a cruel lottery of survival. A passenger's fate could depend entirely on which side of the ship they happened to be on. For Eleanor and Thomas, this meant that even if they found each other, there was no guarantee they could leave together. The rules of this sinking world were being written and rewritten in real time, and every decision was a gamble with life and death. Thomas, using his strength and desperation, finally managed to break through a different passage, making his way onto the tilting deck. The scene was surreal. The ship's band was playing, a brave but futile attempt to soothe the escalating terror. Flares shot into the starless sky, beautiful and horrifying signals of distress that went unanswered. He scanned the faces in the crowd, a sea of desperation. Every woman he saw who wasn't Eleanor was a fresh stab of panic. He shouted her name until his throat was raw, his voice just one more desperate sound in the night. He was battling not just the crowd, but time itself. The ship was groaning, the sounds of its metal skeleton twisting and breaking echoing from deep within its hull. Meanwhile, Eleanor had been herded by a well-meaning but firm crew member towards one of the lifeboats. She resisted, trying to explain that she had to find someone, but her pleas were lost in the roar. She saw the lifeboat being lowered, women in their fine gowns and shawls looking up at the colossal, dying ship. The choice was agonizing. To get in the boat was to accept a chance at life, but it might mean leaving Thomas behind forever. To stay was to risk everything for a love that might already be lost in the chaos. Her heart screamed for him. This was the ultimate test of their love, not by a choice they made together, but by a cruel fate that forced them apart. The uncertainty was its own form of torture. Was he safe? Was he looking for her? Or was he already? She couldn't let her mind go there. Destiny, it seemed, was a relentless force. As Eleanor was pushed toward the edge of the deck, she caught a glimpse of him. Thomas was on a lower deck, still fighting his way through the panicked crowds, his eyes scanning, searching. Their eyes met across the ever-widening chasm of chaos and distance. It was a moment suspended in time, a look that conveyed everything. A desperate "I love you," a silent "I'm sorry," and a heartbreaking goodbye. He saw her, and for a split second, relief washed over his face, quickly replaced by anguish as he realized the distance between them was insurmountable. A crewman grabbed Eleanor's arm, urging her into the waiting lifeboat. She had no choice, as the boat was lowered into the black, freezing water. Her last sight of him was his silhouette against the tilting lights of the Titanic, a lone figure in a world that was falling apart. Their love story, born on the waves of the Atlantic, was now tragically consumed by them, separated not by a lack of love, but by the sheer, overwhelming force of a historical disaster. He was left on the sinking ship. She was in a lifeboat in the middle of the icy ocean, each carrying the ghost of the other in their heart. The chaos of the Titanic had not just sunk a ship, it had pulled apart two souls who were meant to be together, leaving their love story as one of the many untold tragedies forever lost to the deep cold sea. Their future, once as bright and vast as the ocean they sailed upon, was now just a memory, a poignant testament to how quickly fate can change, and how even the strongest love can be tested and ultimately broken by the indifferent hand of destiny. Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time. If you found this story moving, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more tales from history. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.